A couple of days ago, some news came out that Tesla Motors may be launching in India within the next couple of years, as they just registered an office in the city of Bengaluru. But there are a variety of significant challenges in actually launching in India. First of all, we have charging infrastructure. In the US itself, you have to generally map out your charging points before setting out on long road trips. And that's when the map looks like this. In India, the map looks like this. Aside from this, one of the largest appeals for Tesla is their self-driving technology. And unfortunately in India, traffic rules aren't exactly always followed, and you'll often see multiple cars in each lane. In fact, in many places, there are no lane markings, and it's up to the driver to use their best judgment. Finally, we have likely the biggest barrier, which is cost. Tesla's vehicles are already not the cheapest, but when you combine this with over 100% import tax, a mid-level Model 3 ends up costing over $100,000. So, can Tesla overcome these major obstacles and run a viable business within India? Well, starting with charging infrastructure, this is likely the easiest obstacle to overcome. The main ingredients required to solve this would simply be capital and time. They just completed 2 capital raises in 2020, each at $5 billion. This amount will likely be used to fund more gigafactories as opposed to expanding charging infrastructure within India. But the point is that Tesla is for the most part no longer capital constrained. They've proven consecutive profitability throughout 2020, and their margins are only going to improve moving forward. So capital is not the biggest concern. However, time may prove to be a difficult challenge. As we just discussed, Tesla will no doubt focus on factories before focusing on expansion efforts, as building factories is much more beneficial to the overall company. With that being said, this gives competitors within India a lot of time to build up an advantage against Tesla. For instance, Tata Motors is planning to come out with a line of electric vehicles within the next year or two, and they are already in the process of setting up hundreds of charging stations. So, by the time Tesla turns their focus onto India, it's likely that Tata will have quite a significant advantage when it comes to infrastructure. Here's the thing, the people in India who are in the position to even afford this car are people who likely have a tech job located in one of the tech hubs of India. Considering that these areas are extremely expensive, most of these individuals live in apartments or condos with hundreds of other residents. Thus, there will be very limited opportunity to actually charge your car in your apartment's parking garage. And many people will be forced to primarily rely on the charging network to actually charge their cars on a regular basis. Given this excessive demand for charging, companies like Tata have no reason to share their infrastructure with anyone else. Tesla could try to get around this problem by partnering with Indian companies like Mahindra. And though there are some rumors suggesting that this could be the case, so far these are all just rumors. Thus, considering the current situation, it's unlikely that Tesla will have the infrastructure lead when they enter the Indian market. But given that Tesla will likely only be a niche player in India anyways, they don't necessarily need the infrastructure lead in order to be successful in India. Moving on, we have autonomous driving. When it comes to autonomous driving, there are 2 main challenges, which are of course technology and regulation. As for technology, if you were to release a Tesla on Indian roads today with self-driving on, it likely wouldn't get that far considering the unorganized traffic behavior. But Tesla's non-reliance on HD maps and their straightforward approach using cameras does make it possible that Tesla can one day achieve autonomy even in such conditions. Personally, I do think Tesla will be able to handle such situations by the end of this decade. However, whether or not Tesla can do it doesn't really matter, as the sentiment against self-driving vehicles is still quite strong within Indian legislature. In fact, as recent as May 2020, the Road Transport and Highways Minister straight up said, quote, "Self-driving cars will not be allowed in India." This rigid stance is not so much about technological ability as it is about job displacement. The minister has explained that self-driving cars could put the jobs of 1 crore people or 10 million people in jeopardy. It is already expected that 23% of global job losses due to automation will occur in India. Thus, the Indian government has no imminent plans to further accelerate this trend. Now, Tesla owners may be allowed to use self-driving technology privately, but the robotaxi market in India is basically off limits for Tesla at this point. And that brings us on to the final concern, which is price. The cheapest Tesla you can get today without using weird loopholes is $37,990. This is the same as 27 lakh rupees or 2.7 million rupees. Generally, import taxes are often well above 100% in India in order to protect indigenous manufacturers. But we'll call it just 100% to illustrate how expensive this really is. As you can see, the taxes would double the price of the car to $75,980 or 5.4 million rupees. In India, the top 1% of income earners make $77,000 per year. But just because you make $77,000 a year doesn't mean that you should spend all of it on a single car. In fact, that wouldn't be very smart. Ideally, your income would be a bare minimum of twice the price of the car, especially if it's a luxury car. So, this purchase would no doubt only be reasonable to the upper echelons of the top 1% in India. Now, Tesla does have their $25,000 car coming out within the next couple of years, which with import taxes comes out to a starting price of $50,000. So, we'll say that the top 1% of Indians can afford it. With a population of 1.366 billion people, the viable Indian market would be about 13.66 million people. We don't exactly know how many of these people are interested in buying a Tesla, but I think it's safe to assume that nearly all of these people do have nice cars, and that they would be open to buying a Tesla. If Tesla was able to convince 1% of this market to buy a Tesla every year, that itself would pull in a solid 136,000 cars annually. To put this in perspective, Toyota makes several cheaper models specifically aimed at India and other Asian countries. Despite that though, they're only able to sell a mere 8,500 units a month, or roughly 100,000 units per year in India. Luxury manufacturers like Mercedes struggle to cross even 10,000 units per year. But as we all know, the real advantage comes by manufacturing in India. Opening a small assembly plant within India will significantly reduce the import taxes down to just 10 to 15%. And considering that these are all EVs, Tesla may be able to enjoy taxes as low as 5%, bringing the cost of the entry-level Tesla to $26,250. Now, that's still extremely expensive for the average Indian, considering that $26,250 is a third of the top 1%'s annual income. So, even with this advantage, Teslas will only be accessible to the top couple of percent of India. Nonetheless, manufacturing in India to reduce import taxes will likely grow the market size a couple of fold into tens of millions, but really no more than 50 million. Again, if we say 1% of this population were to convert to Tesla on an annual basis, Tesla may be able to get sales up to 500,000 annually. Realistically though, the number will end up in the few hundred thousand range. So, nothing like China and their 100,000 orders within 10 hours or anything like that. However, Tesla isn't attracted to India just because of their market, but more importantly, because of their talent. India is home to some of the smartest tech workers, and it would be foolish for Tesla to not employ this talent to work on their self-driving technology. Elon Musk is always on the lookout to recruit great talent, and many of Tesla's events, including Autonomy Day and Battery Day, aren't so much to excite investors, but more to excite potential recruits. Personally, I think this is the main reason Tesla is even expanding into India right now. Tesla has plenty of demand outside of India, and their efforts would likely be better served by simply building more factories within the US, Europe, China, and even Australia. The truth is, in India, it's likely that indigenous automakers like Tata and Mahindra will have a significant advantage over Tesla in terms of not only charging infrastructure, but more importantly, retail price. Thus, these companies will likely continue to dominate the vast majority of the Indian automobile market, even if Tesla were to step in. And I'm sure Elon Musk and Tesla are well aware of this reality. It's true that Tesla can greatly improve their chances by manufacturing in India, and this does seem to be the plan. But even with this approach, within the Indian market, it's unlikely that Tesla will be able to grow past being a niche luxury automaker at this point in time. Nonetheless, given India's large population, this does amount to sizable sales of potentially a few 100,000 cars per year. As a result, though India will be a great addition for Tesla, it will be by no means game-changing financially. Where it will be game-changing though is technology, and that's the true advantage of Tesla expanding into India. Do you guys agree, or do you think Tesla will reach 7-figure sales in India no problem? Comment that down below. Also, drop a like if you guys are excited for Tesla's global expansion. And of course, consider joining our Discord community to suggest future video ideas, and consider subscribing to see more questions logically answered. But until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.